Thank you, members of the Academy. This award is especially thrilling because it's been a labor of love, Bunny, for all of us at Bluesky Studios in New York for many years. I've always been inspired by illustrators, book illustrators, that have a very painterly, dimensional style. And so I went back to storybooks that I knew when I was a kid. Uncle Wiggily was one of them, Howard Garris's books. And I just thought, okay, well, here's our setting. It's going to be a cozy storybook kind of place. Cozy, like camps in the Adirondacks that I spent a lot of time in as a kid. And that kind of became the setting for me.
Some dreams, once they take hold, never want to let go. And for director Chris Wedge, the bittersweet story of an aging rabbit had become an 8-year obsession.
When I first started thinking about the kind of movie I wanted to make with our software, I thought, I don't want this to look like it's computer generated. One of the goals was to replicate the way that light works in the world, and we took a very kind of scientific approach. It's a simulation of the way light works. And now that, I mean, at the point that we had that developed, we decided, well, how do we use it? Well, let's use it like photographers use it. And we developed techniques to fill and put key lights and make soft light the way that photographers use it.
The look that Chris describes was also an important part of the genesis for Bluesky Studios. Founded in 1987 by a team of animators and engineers, one of its primary goals was the development of rendering software that would create highly realistic lighting for computer-generated character animation.
Well, CGI Studio is a package that's exclusively a ray tracer, and we've extended the capability of that ray tracer to be able to take advantage of what is known in the industry as radiosity. Most scenes in computer graphics are lit by light sources, so the objects only receive light from light sources. But radiosity allows objects to receive light from other objects. So if there's a yellow school bus that's hit by the sun, the objects around it will pick up the yellow cast.
The project would be named Bunny, the first film to use radiosity in production. But because Bunny was never intended to be a commercial release, Chris and several dozen dedicated members of the Bluesky staff worked on this animated short in their spare time, between paying jobs. Chris's drawings were first shaped into clay models, then converted into wireframe models that were animated in soft image.
I started with a Cocoon reference and looked at how old people moved and, you know, the stiffness and where the stiffness is. You know, I tried to put in little ear twitches and stuff like that, because in some of the reference, the bunnies would like twitch their ears for no reason. So those were the kind of things I tried to put into the performance whenever I had a chance.
I liked that she was a curmudgeon, kind of grouchy, and I liked bringing that aspect to her bunniness. Actually, it was a challenge to get that humanness and bunniness to work.
Can we just loop from bump to plop?
Next, the animated models were edited to establish the timing of scenes.
Okay, I'm going to turn down the ambience.
Then painting and lighting were applied with Adobe Photoshop and Interactive Effects Amazon.
Yeah, I like that. That's much better.
Finally, the last step before rendering was added, the complex fur textures, a specialty of Bluesky. But when all the elements were ready to render in CGI Studio, the enormity of this job became apparent.
We always wanted to submit this as a candidate for Best Animated Short, but we calculated it would take us several months to render it, more like 7 months. And so it was a real issue for us. So we found ourselves in this dilemma, and the dilemma was that we couldn't possibly get the project finished in time for submission with the computing resources we had, so we needed some other solution.
Compact's high-performance Alpha Server Group became aware of their challenge.
Good morning. Welcome.
They offered to set up a rendering farm for Bluesky at their Enterprise System Lab in Littleton, Massachusetts. It consisted of 41 networked, 4-processor Alpha Server 4100 units. Each day's rendering data was transported on DLT tapes to the lab, where it would be processed and then stored on Compact Storage Works arrays.
And after that, it was just all go. They worked 24 hours a day. At the end of each day, we would take the frames that they had rendered, put them to DLT tape, and get them shipped down to Bluesky's, where it went into their normal process after that.
The Compact Alpha servers that we used really helped us out a lot. They were more than twice as fast than the hardware we were currently using, and they brought our render times down to 14 3/4 hours per frame, which by industry standards is really kind of high, but for Bunny standards, we were just thrilled.
True 64 Unix really worked well for us, and the networking scheme was totally compatible with what we needed to do. Things were reliable. We could share file systems. The data went across the network at the speeds that we needed, and certainly the processing time of the individual CPUs was stellar.
I don't think we would ever have finished it if we hadn't had access to the computing resources that Compact made available. We'd been talking about this for years. We had been picking away at it bit by bit, just in our spare time, and finally, you know, kind of a critical mass was created, and we got some stuff out the film and we showed it. The first scene that we saw just took our breath away. We could not believe what it was going to look like.
And the Oscar goes to...
We're really excited about the future. The kind of projects we've always wanted to do are now a reality, and that they're not only a reality in terms of the technology, but they're a reality in terms of the cost, which is an extremely important thing.
Computer animation is one of those realms where there's just no horizon. And you know that with the right support behind the right project, more and more amazing things are going to happen, and we're hoping that we can be there for a few of those chapters.